Okay, this is the coming down now to two final videos I'm doing here of the CD series, and I got three artists here. Now I know I've been gone at least a couple months. You know, I've been focusing a lot on my other channel, actually redoing some of my records, and getting some really good feedback from my other channel. But I want to kind of focus back on my, my Dr. Combat channel here. And I'm trying to finish off my CD series that I've been doing since January, where I started with America and, many other artists that I'm pretty sure most people probably wouldn't want to even listen to, like Bread, and even stuff like Howard Keel. But this one here is actually from the soundtrack of a movie that's not really great, but the music, however, is absolutely flawless. And every single one of these were written by Norman Whitfield, of course, a huge Motown songwriter. Wrote stuff like "You Keep Me Hanging On" and I believe Jimmy Mack he wrote too. But this was from 1976. Royce. I know it says best of, but it's still technically an album. It's kind of a soundtrack with the songs that you hear from the movie, which has actually like a cameo of George Carlin, because he is in the movie, and he's got like a funny bit in the movie. But really, the main stars is Richard Pryor, which is he's kind of like a pimp, and a few of some people. I'm forgetting the names. But yeah, 1976, and of course it's got the huge blockbuster song that went #1, "Car Wash." And I even like "I Wanna Get Next to You," which is a beautiful song. Now I believe this band was from Detroit, if not maybe Philly. I don't know if they were a Philly band or a Detroit. And some really great musicians on here. I even like, because this definitely has the sound of like the late 70s. Like this is perfect if you want like that late 70s, really, I don't know what you would call it, maybe blaxploitation-y, really nitty gritty like soul stuff. However, this is really great. And a good example is "Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is." It's a really ridiculous song, but it's really great. Like, it's got a fun bass line, and they say a lot of just innuendo-y kind of stuff or whatever, or the whole like "put up or shut up" kind of thing. Yeah, "Born to Love You" is a really great one. "Keep on keeping on." And now see now the songs actually kind of coexist with some of the plot of the movie, like some of the characters and stuff. So Daddy Rich, like that's the name of the character that Richard Pryor plays, and "Keep on keeping on." Because in the movie there's like a prostitute character that she kind of wants to move on from what she's doing and stuff. Or at least she's trying to hook up with another guy in the movie. And "Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is," which there's a lot of like, that kind of drug dealing kind of thing. So it's kind of time capsuled in that late 70s. And even, I know that was definitely kind of a thing, even starting in the early 70s, but still. If you like that fun kind of ridiculousness, even if you've never seen the movie and you just listen just the songs, however, it's still very fun. "Car Wash." And I got here's one smooth artist here. Originally from the Steve Miller Band, and then later on had his solo career. He definitely had a lot of albums under his belt before, however, this one, which is "Silk Degrees," which I believe my mom may have bought or something. And it's got the nice price. You can see that this album, you can definitely tell this is very, very quite old. This is definitely one of those earlier, you know, CDs and stuff. And I even like the album cover, which was shot in, I think, San Francisco or something. And it's really got some great, and it's got really great session players on here. Which, in fact, Fred Tackett, the guy who was on Little Feat, and he was in the band Little Feat, and played with Bob Dylan, stuff like that. And Louis Shelton, he's one of those great Wrecking Crew guys. Jim Horn. Yeah, just fantastic stuff. But this really, and again, this really plays like a greatest hits. And it features definitely one of his biggest groundbreaking hits songs, which was, of course, Low Down. Which I don't know, who plays on Low Down now? I'm pretty sure Fred Tackett's on there. No, he's not on. Okay, he's not on. But he is on Lido Shuffle, and I believe he plays the guitar in the song Lido Shuffle, which was like the follow-up to Low Down. And he's got the voice of what's that other dude? Bobby Caldwell. But he's a really great artist. He definitely has a lot of, like, a pretty good list of albums that he had came out even before this album, Silk Degrees. And it's got the opening track, What Can I Say? It's a really good one. Of course, Georgia's fun. Now he also has We're All Alone, which Rita Coolidge covered a year later, and that became pretty big for her. Yeah, Low Down and Lido Shuffle. Great songs from here. And there you go, Boss Scaggs, 1976. Again, 2 albums of the same year. There you go. And so to end it for this video, I got a really great, I would say very underrated band if you're really getting into the albums. I would say avoid the first 2 albums, but definitely pick up their 3rd album, which has their, of course, everybody knows, and it's probably one of the biggest songs of the 60s, Happy Together by the Turtles, which I really love. And yeah, they're definitely like one of those bands that were just, I feel like they're pigeonholed just to be a greatest hits band. Kind of like, I guess maybe like the Buckinghams and people like the Rascals and even the Beau Brummels. But I think this one is definitely my favorite one. I do like it's funny because I do really like the Battle of the Bands. That one's actually really good. But but overall, that's the thing. Overall, it's not really that strong of an album. And even Turtle Soup, I thought was okay. They had Ray Davies producing the album. But yeah, it is strange how they didn't. They're not really as strong, I would say. But this is definitely one album I always go back to from this band. And again, it's got Happy Together, which actually features a couple songs that were chosen by the 2 guys that wrote that song, but Bonner and Gordon. Like the song "The Guy for the Married Man," which was actually a movie that was directed by Gene. What was his name? Yeah, the guy that was in a bunch of those MGM movies. Gene Kelly. Okay, yeah, there we go. Gene Kelly. Anyways, he directed that movie, and that had a good chunk of, a good cast of people on there. I believe they wrote Me About You. They also did, of course, She'd Rather Be With Me, which was definitely another big success for them. And also, I think that's about it, yeah. See, it's got the stereo mono. I think this came, because I know I got the other ones, and I bought them, or I got them from eBay. See, they came in separate, they came in cases like this. And I think it comes like in a box set, but they were all like separate. So yeah, making my mind up. That's always that's a really great song. And Like the Seasons, which in fact, what's his name? The guy that later on did Werewolves of London, believe it or not, wrote Like the Seasons for the Turtles. Warren Zevon is the guy who wrote that. Yeah, so really, and again, really, I would say very into the pretty much the quality of like even Beatles. I would say, like this definitely ranks up with like Sgt. Pepper. You know, where it really feels a little bit. I would say it's not really much of a concept because it's mostly just see where you know how it says "happy together" and "she'd rather be with me." But see, that's the thing with see. There's other songs that are kind of in the, I guess maybe in the same vein, and not really so much of a concept. But yeah, I feel like that was most early. That I mean, that's the thing. That was definitely the whole, I guess, the whole marketing, I would say, is that they try to, I don't know, how do I work around the song, like the big song, and just have you know, mediocre to okay. But this absolutely has, all these songs absolutely fan-friggin-tastic. And the last track on here, "Rugs of Woods," reminds me a lot of like a Frank Zappa song or even Captain Beefheart. Yeah, so there you have it. And it's got John Barbada, the drummer, on here, which is, you know, he was on Jefferson Starship too. And yeah, Bones Howell producing. I believe he produced pretty much every one of their albums, up to, I believe, Battle of the Bands. Because I think that was just the band that produced that album, and then Ray Davies produced Turtle Soup. But there you have it. Happy Together by the Turtles. And there you have it for this part. So I got one more part to go here and finally finally end this whole CDs series thing. Okay, folks, take care. Bye-bye.